Just before we start the podcast, we would like to invite you to get a copy of our new book called Living from Your Art. You can find it on any Amazon platform. You will see it's a very bright colored orange and yellow book cover, and it was made for you artists because you help us live in a better world. We want to help you get more work. So thank you so much, and let's start this podcast. Oh, I forgot to remove the image. Hello, everyone. My name is Eli. Welcome to the Living from Your Art podcast. I am so happy to have you today with us. We have an amazing guest. What he creates is bigger than nature. It's amazing. I'm really happy to have found this amazing artist, Kevin Stone. He's a metal artist, and not metal as in music, but metal as in metal. So welcome to this new episode of the Living from Your Art podcast. I want you to open up your horizon as an artist and see that there are many opportunities. Welcome back. All right, so today we have Kevin Stone from BC, but I think maybe he will move from this place very soon. So anyway, I want to invite my guest to the show. So welcome, Kevin Stone.
Thank you, Eli. Appreciate you having me here.
Yeah, I'm so happy. Like I said, what you create is just amazing. So the more people know about you, I think the better society will be, because this is amazing. Like, when we see these things. So before we start, I'm actually going to show some picture that you sent me so that the people actually know what you create. And it's funny, you're going to see, like, we'll still see each other while I show the picture.
Sure.
On the sides, because the pictures are not full. So it's funny. So let me show what Kevin Stone is doing. It's crazy. Look at this. So he's doing a family, so that's good. So look at that. It's amazing. So that's a T-Rex he did recently. This is a dragon. He does. So you do cars as well, right? You do like.
I do, yeah. Pretty passionate about car building.
Wow. So you see, we can still see each other here. So another car here, two cars. And a metal eagle. Another bird. The big T-Rex. This is crazy. Look at this beast. Look at this human here and the beast. Man. So amazing. Look at this one. It's so huge. I love this picture of you. So you can see, guys, that Kevin Stone really is a real artist. So anyway, so thank you so much for being here, Kevin. So let's start with the questions right away.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah. Hit it.
So as a kid, were you like an entrepreneur, like the kids who sell like lemonade stands, or were you doing this kind of things?
Well, I actually I grew up on Vancouver Island, and I grew up in the early 70s in Vancouver Island, and my parents had an IGA and a Texaco gas station combined. So we had a big store. We were the local store and a gas station. And up the road from us, there was a hot rod builder, and he used to bring down his hot rod souped up cars for gas and drive them to the pumps. And I was riding around on my bikes and stuff, seeing all these crazy cars. And so I was always very passionate about car building and just hot rod cars and custom cars since I was very little. Some of my earliest memories were being able to identify almost any car that was out just by looking at the taillights or the headlights, or, I could tell a car what it was by the time I was 9 years old in the dark just by the headlights. So I really liked cars as a kid. And my parents, my dad, my uncle, they all kind of were doodlers and sketchers and liked to draw. And I'm sure that had a huge influence on me, because I grew up constantly drawing and doodling and got, pretty serious, I guess, probably up until I was about 11 or 12 years old, I was really into doing custom drawing and artwork and things like that. And then, life and school and high school, and then after high school, work and family, and all got in the way of my artwork. So I never really did much artwork until after I was probably in my very early teens. I didn't do much artwork, and other than some doodling or something. And I didn't get the opportunity to do my artwork until I was about in my early 30s. I was working for a metal fabrication shop, and they asked me to build a gargoyle for the rooftop of the building.
Oh, wow.
And that was where I just kind of sat in the corner and used the scrap bin and searched through the scrap bin and took chunks out, and I made a big gargoyle. And that was my first sculpture in metal, and then it just kind of took off from there. I had fun doing it, and it turned out pretty neat, and neat enough that a private investor came on and funded me to do a big eagle. And then that led into another private investor that funded me to do the big Chinese dragon and the big eagle with him. And then once I had done those three large pieces, it just kind of took off from there.
Wow. So you just by being talented and doing the thing, you just like business was coming to you.
Yeah, well, it was kind of like, I had an opportunity. It was given to me to have a private backer fund me to do a big piece. And it meant, kind of jumping off that diving board. It meant quitting my secure job and taking a chance on doing this. And he provided the funding to, a live out allowance basically while I created this thing. And, unfortunately, it didn't work out for us as a partnership. Neither one of my partners worked out, because once I finished these pieces, greed kind of took over, and then they literally tried to kind of outplay me and tried to steal my pieces, literally. And so, it's a little bit of a long story. I guess we got time. I might get into some of that tonight, but it was it was kind of, for me, it was a little bit of a shit show with partners, and getting rid of that situation and just focusing on my art, and not having partners involved in trying to manipulate me really made a big difference, and it's been very much more enjoyable since then. So
Yeah, no doubt. It's crazy how to find the right partners or colleagues is really key to have success or to be able to grow, because it kind of puts a ceiling on yourself as an artist,
oh,
right?
it absolutely does. Like, for an example, the first partner, I might as well just get into it since we brought it up. Everybody will be wondering what happened. Um, so I built the Big Eagle, and we had lots of fanfare. We had a big open house. I had a bunch of parties that were interested in it, and we were hoping to see, a good multiple six figures for. It was a 30-plus foot stainless steel eagle that I built with an attacking pose,
Wow.
and nobody had seen anything like it. It was probably one of the first ones ever done in the world that had ever seen a giant mirror polished stainless steel eagle. And so we had a lot of fanfare, and it made the news, and had lots of publicity. And right after I created it and started getting some interest in purchasing it, he went behind my back and locked me out of the building where we had built it, and literally had gone behind my back, changed the locks, signed a contract behind my back with the landlord, and literally basically just tried to steal it. And so I went to a lawyer, and first I went to the police. They wouldn't do anything because they said it was a partnership and a civil matter. So then it was a civil matter. Then I had to get a lawyer, and then the lawyers and the law, and it just takes forever. Unless you kick the door down and do something yourself, nothing happens fast. So basically, it was locked in there for 2 years. And during that time, like right as that all happened, another person had reached out and wanted to buy it, or was interested in buying it, had an investor interested in buying it. And I told them, I said, it's locked up for 2 years. We're dealing with a legal battle now. I can't, there's nothing I can do about it. I said, they've even locked my tools in there, so I don't even have the tools.
Wow.
And so where that went to is, it went to a new investor, and instead of buying it, I said, it's locked up. And I said, but I can build a new one. If you're really interested in having one of these big eagles, it's quicker for me to build a new one, and probably, going to cost you less because you're investing in me not to buy a piece, but investing in me to create art. So it's given me employment, and I gave them a deal, and we worked out a deal. And that deal simply was, you invest in the piece, pay for the materials and my cost of living to build it, and then we'll sell it. You'll get your investment back right off the sale. All 100% of his investment would be paid back, and then whatever the profit was, we would split it 50-50. So it gave me income. It gave me the ability to create a very large piece, and the guarantee that when it sold, he'd get his money back right away, and whatever was left, we would split it. Well, when I finished the first piece, again, greed came back into the picture, and they wanted like millions of dollars versus hundreds of thousands for these big pieces. So I ended up doing a bigger eagle. I did a 40-foot stainless eagle, and I was hoping to see maybe, we invested maybe 150,000 to create it, and I was hoping to see maybe 300,000 or 400,000, and then build another one. Just keep doing it, and keep the partnership going. It was quite good at first. And then as soon as I created it, right away, it's, they just see dollar signs floating above their head, I guess. And they wanted like millions of dollars, like literally like $5 million. It was ridiculous.
Wow.
And so anyway, that started off kind of, rocky with these crazy prices. And then I convinced them, like, because, we were done the piece and they wanted these crazy prices, and had convinced me at the time that it would happen because it was such an amazing piece and blah, blah, blah. So I said, well, that's fine. I'll sit on it, but I need something to do. So we talked about doing another sculpture. So I ended up doing a second sculpture with them while we sat on the first one. And I did that big Chinese coiling dragon. And that was much larger investment. It was about 400,000 to create that big dragon.
My God.
And then it even got worse. So when I finished that took me 2 years to build. And that piece was 2 years and $400,000 to create. And they turned around and put a $10 million price tag on it, which was absolutely insane. There's no way there's no way I'm an unknown artist. The piece was beautiful, but it wasn't a $10 million piece unless I was famous, maybe if I was famous. But anyway, so I had some great publicity with it. It was on display at the Vancouver the Pacific National Exhibition in Vancouver, which is the P&E, and famous. Everybody goes to the P&E every year in Vancouver, and then it went to the River Rock Casino in 2012 and was on display at the big River Rock Casino in Vancouver. And they were interested in purchasing it at the casino. They had already set it up and had it on display. And my partner had a partner of his basically destroy any negotiations or chance of a sale, asking these ridiculous prices. And so then we ended up bringing it back to Chilliwack, and then that's when things really went bad, because the company that had took it there tried to double the charge to bring it home. And the casino was like, what the heck? Why are they doubling the price? It was $9,000 to take it there, and they wanted $18,000 to bring it home. And so then I had to reach out and look for another company to transport it home, and found a company locally to transport it home, and they did the transportation illegally to match the price. So they didn't reach out and get a permit, a wide load permit to ship it. And they hit an overpass with my dragon and did about $200,000 damage after hitting a highway overpass with it while they were transporting it.
Oh my God.
And so that was like unbelievable to see that show up at my place all smashed, and the head was all bent back, and the ball that's on it was, smashed, and just tons of damage, and just so disheartening after all that work. And I was already at that point when it came home kind of on the out with my partner over these, lack of sales and lack of negotiating reasonable prices and stuff, and really killing a chance. This had been gone on for several years at this point, and it killed several chances at some lucrative sales. And so, I was at that point, I think we both were ready for a divorce at that point, but we wanted to sell these pieces and move on. And so what he did is he approached me right after the accident happened and said, basically, stand aside. I'm going to sue the insurance company and write the dragon off. And I thought, like, hell you are. That's my sculpture. And it's repairable. It's just metal, and I'm capable of repairing it. And let's just get it repaired and let's get it out to the public and let's get it sold. So instead of working with me to do that, he chose to sue or go after the insurance company, who then basically said, well, we're not paying him, we're not going to deal with this guy. We don't even, as far as we're concerned, it's your sculpture and we'll settle with you and you can fix it. So that's what they did. They settled with me, and that was what I had intended to do, was to fix it and just get it sold and have it out in the public. And so instead of working with me and doing that, he turned around and sued me. And he sued me for just a ridiculous amount of money, and he even made up a bunch of fake stuff in the lawsuit and everything. Like, it was just ludicrous. And so I went and visited a lawyer in Vancouver and said, look, this is what's going on. What do I do? I've received the money. I sat on the money waiting to fix the dragon, and I was actually trying to use that a little bit as leverage, saying, look, I'm not going to fix it until we have an actual business plan to move forward, a marketing plan, and get it sold, so we can both, get our money out of it and move on. And you're going to get paid back. I'll make something, and we can both move on happy. But he didn't want to do that. He just wanted to sue me. So then I just basically, at that point, I told the lawyer, I said, look, I'll fix it, and then he can have the friggin' thing, and I'm walking away, because I'm done with all these fees and lawyer fees and the stress of going to Supreme Court, which was hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially. And I said, it's not worth my stress. I'd rather just walk away. And, if he sells it down the road, eventually it's out in the public, and eventually the public will know that it's my piece and it's sold and it's out in the public. And we had hoped that would happen. And so I did repair it, and I did walk away from it. And now they've been sitting in Abbotsford, which is a town next to me in Chilliwack here. It's about 30 miles away, 30 kilometers away. And they've been sitting there for 12 years in a storage yard unsold. So I don't know if he's using them as a tax write-off or what they're doing, but I haven't had anything to do with him or those pieces for 12 years now.
All right.
Yeah.
What a story. Well, thanks for letting me know and everyone know. Like, these kind of things we don't really want, right? We want to expand our business and our career in the right way and with the right people. So now it's better, right? Now things are better.
It's 100% better. The stress went away. Actually, what I did right after that is I opened a hot rod shop, and I was building hot rods professionally for 10 years. And during that time, I was kind of a little bent when I started. It took me about 3 years. My wife, Michelle, she convinced me. She said, your talent is in, you're a great car builder, but your talent really is in the metal art, and you need to get back into it. And so I started to do a few pieces. I did a few birds, like you saw. I did a bird for Calgary Harley, did an eagle for them. And then a couple commissions came in, and I did some larger birds. And then I was approached by the Big Boys Toys billionaires show, for the super rich out of Las Vegas, and they wanted me to do a big falcon, or just have something at the show in Las Vegas. So I agreed to the show, and Michelle and I, my wife and I, started to make a big 30-foot stainless steel falcon to take down to Las Vegas. And just as we finished that, or just about finished that, we were just finishing it, and the show was coming up in November, and COVID struck. And the show was canceled, and all the money and the work that I put into the big bird was kind of on hold. And I didn't really, that was my intention, was to sell it at the show. And so I tucked it in a corner and went back to building cars. And kind of everybody was dealing with COVID at the time. And luckily we had a shop full of cars, so we had plenty of work. We could just kind of lock the shop up and do our work and deal with our customers, on the internet and that type of thing. And it worked for a while. And then I had $100,000 bird that I didn't have a customer for. So, it was a little bit tough there. And then It wasn't that long after that. It was that fall that a client out in Dollywood, I had done earlier, previous to that, I had done a 55-foot eagle for Dolly Parton's Dollywood out in Tennessee. And there was a client from California, and he was at Dollywood in front of my eagle. And he phoned me and he said, my kids are on the ride and I'm standing in front of your eagle and I want a big eagle just like this. And I said, oh, that's great. I said, but I can build anything. I don't have to just build a big eagle. I can make you anything you want if you want a big sculpture for your driveway. And that's where the Game of Thrones dragon came from. So he said, I'd love a big dragon like the one from Game of Thrones. Well, I hadn't even watched Game of Thrones, so I had to go home and binge watch the series and see what the heck I agreed to build. And anyways, that went through, and it kind of happened really quickly, and we started working on the Game of Thrones dragon. And as I was posting the dragon, as I was starting on it, I was posting it on social media and showing the head and the fabrication and everything. And a fellow reached out from Miami, a billionaire from Miami had called me and said, I want to buy the dragon. Is it for sale? And I said, no, I'm sorry. It's a commission. It's not for sale. And I said, but I do have a big falcon for sale. And one thing led to another, and he bought the falcon. So it ended up shipping down to his gallery in Miami, and he purchased that from me. And I continued to work on the dragon. And shortly after it arrived in Miami, a friend of his at the gallery in Miami, a friend of his from the Cayman Islands, phoned me. And he said, I absolutely love that falcon you just delivered to Miami. He goes, I've always wanted a giant T-Rex. And so that's where the big chrome T-Rex came from a client in the Cayman Islands. But he actually had a summer property in Penticton here in BC, and we were supposed to be sending this big T-Rex to the Cayman Islands, and then he chose that he'd like to have it just shipped here and keep it in Penticton for a while. Now, I don't know if that's going to stay in Penticton. He talked about still moving it again, maybe to the Cayman Islands. But for now, it's been set up a couple months ago. Well, it wasn't even that. It was like a month ago. We set it up in Penticton at his Airbnb in Penticton, and it's been on display there ever since. So.
Oh my God! Like, can you tell how much you sold that one for, or is it like private?
Yeah, it was a commission, and I base my commissions on how long it takes to make. Okay. And how much the material is. And really, I mean, nobody's ever built these before, and I've never built them before. So I just try to guess everything in my head as to, how long is it going to take me physically to make it? How much material am I looking at? How big is it going to be? And then I just try to give the client a guess of, and I'm usually within pretty accurate of the guessing.
Oh, good.
And it total came to, I charge in US dollars, not Canadian dollars, because it's easier that way for me to calculate, when I'm shipping materials and things like that. And then of course there's a little bit of a bonus when you're converting the US dollar to Canadian dollar. So that helps in my quoting, because I actually quote quite low. I try to quote on, basically what do I need to live on and cover my overhead while I'm building it, and how much of the materials. So I generally stopped marking up materials and quoting materials. I quote the materials based on market value, and I let the client pay for the materials, because I don't really know how much material it'll take to make something that large. I try to guess my best guess, but I put that bill directly in the client's hands to cover the material cost, because the market varies so much. And then basically the client's just paying me for the labor cost of creating it. And I find, it's not making me a big fat bank account, but it's allowing me to create these amazing pieces and make a living on it. And so that's been great. And that was a 2-year project, and all in, it was $400,000 to create.
Oh my God! Wow.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Like, as you say, like, there's probably nobody else who's doing this, or we did not find this person yet on the planet.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. There is a few people out there that are incredibly talented and doing amazing artwork. I don't think they've tackled some of the pieces that I've tackled, because my pieces are so large that I have multiple pieces that were 2-year plus projects each piece. So it's very persevering as an artist to get through pieces that take your focus for 2 years to concentrate on and and to hope that it turns out, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't use computers, and I don't do any engineering off of computers. It's all out of my head and from experience, and I'm a visual artist, so I just work from drawings and pictures that I either draw myself or I can find on the internet, and then I look at and visually kind of look at what I'm creating and just try to create it out of my head how I would shape that in metal and start building it.
Wow. That's amazing, Kevin. Like, really, you are a pure artist. So we have Fred Stephens here says Kevin's talent is beyond imagination. Between himself and his beautiful wife Michelle, he is able to make two-dimensional into three. Very true.
Thank you,
So
Fred.
yeah, Fred, you're amazing. Thanks for watching. So by the way, like whoever's watching the live podcast right now or the replay, please comment. Are you an artist? Where are you watching from? It's always fun to know where the people are watching from the podcast and if they are an artist as well, because the goal here is to inspire and motivate artists to do more. So thank you so much for this very good answer. So I'll get into my next questions. I think I'll skip a couple because you had a very good story there. So what you mentioned that you actually left your full-time job when you started back with the pieces. What were you doing before?
Well, I'll just go right back to the beginning. After high school, I had a bunch of, you know, odd jobs like anybody else does. They don't really know what they want to do or where they're going in life, you know, unless you grew up with a career path. I just didn't even know what I wanted to do, and I had honestly had thought a little bit about cartooning, being a professional cartoonist when I was younger, and you know, there was so many. I learned a little bit about it when I was young, and it's kind of a tough job being a professional cartoonist. There's deadlines and you know, quite a workload that you're put under, and then there's a lot of professional training that I just wasn't able to fund myself, being a young you know, a young adult on my own, and not having a source of income to cover school costs like that and stuff, and you know, I had worked in moving businesses and, you know, just odd jobs, and I finally, you know, kind of realized that I needed to go back to school and take a trade or do something that was, you know, educational for me to start getting secure work. And friends of mine at the time, this was in Victoria on the island, and they were in the shipyard. They had gotten jobs in the shipyard and as welders, and were making good money and you know, and they were good friends of mine that we hung out all the time. And I was always broke, and they always had money. And I thought, geez, I better go to school and learn how to weld, because they had an in for me to get a job there. So that's exactly what I did. I went to Camosun College in Victoria, and I loved welding, being a drawer, you know, doing art and having that steady hand-eye coordination really let me excel as a welder, because I had that, you know, that steady hand-to-eye coordination that I had always practiced as doing artwork, and it allowed me to excel in welding, and I became very good at it. I did all my courses. I became an A-level welder. I started my work in the field doing commercial steel and high-rise buildings and bridges and things like that, being a structural iron worker and welder, and I did a career like that for many years. And then while I was doing that career, I met a girl and had my first child. And when my first child was being born, my first son was being born, at the time, she was really worried about the work that I did, because it's quite dangerous. You know, you're up on the steel and there's the fall factor. And back then, when I was doing my apprenticeship and working in my career, lanyard safety and, you know, being tied off on ropes and things like that weren't around. We were all iron workers that were free form iron workers. So we're just climbing steel and hoping we didn't fall. We didn't tie off to anything. And she felt that, you know, I really should, with the kids coming, and have a more and I did a lot of field work, a lot of traveling with that type of work, and so I gave it up and I took a shop job and kept my feet on the ground and then and that's where I got into the trades of I started specializing in stainless steel and aluminum and doing microbreweries and boat building, and I did a various bunch of different jobs in the welding career. Um, Probably a little bit of everything that I've done, mining and mining equipment and heavy construction and just a variety of things. But I really liked the stainless steel. It was clean. It was a lot of bench work and it wasn't really super fatiguing type work like I was used to. So it was quite a nice change of pace. You're in nice warm shop in the winter and so it was good and I stuck with it until I got the opportunity to do my art.
Interesting. It's always amazing to see how what we do in our previous life, if we could say, is always leading us to where we are right now. It's this kind of experience that we gather through the years. It's really interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely. And also, having a dream and a goal. When I started this 20 years ago with my artwork, and I started to take it seriously with my really big projects. Probably the turning point for me was the second big eagle that I did. It was a 40-foot eagle. I was really proud how it turned out, and then of course I went into the big Chinese dragon after that, and that was those two projects alone were 3 years of my life, kind of locked in a garage on my farm and just filming and just literally just working every day, um, and and so that was kind of the turning point where I thought, if I'm going to do this, I want to try to do it the best I can and try to do the biggest work that I can and try to do something different that nobody else has seen before. And then that was my long-term goal. And as you know, I'm about to move, and that's kind of like my long-term goal coming to reality. So I've been working really, really hard for the last 20 years with that in the back of my mind, that I really did want to locate down to the US, where there's most of my clients are in the US as it is anyway. And, there's more lucrative opportunity down there, more visibility for my work down there. And I'm a car guy and I like to ride my Harley and I love to play with hot rods, as you can see behind me.
Yeah.
And it's warmer down there, so I get to play with them a little longer. I keep tucking them away for 8 or 9 months a year here, and I'm tired of it. So I'm looking forward to not having the long winters, and we're gonna set up shop in Arizona, and then the next phase of my art career, because I think I've established what I can do in my art, and obviously I want to keep doing my art and hopefully do bigger and better things all the time. But I also want to start. I'm getting older and I'm starting to get some work injuries. I've got some. I almost took all the tendons out of my arm a few years ago with a grinder, and ended up with over 100 stitches in my arm.
Wow.
And I have a back that comes and goes. I have back injuries that come and go over the years, and now I'm starting to get tendon injuries, in arthritis in my elbows and aches and pains from doing this for so long, that I hope to start passing it down to. I have had an apprentice the last few years, and I've been passing my knowledge down to him, and I'm hoping maybe once we're down in Vegas, he'll follow us down and continue working with me and learning from me, which is what the plan is. I hope he continues with that. But if not, I hope to start opening a school down there, and I actually hope to start teaching some younger generations of all the experience that I've learned over the years. And even if they're not artists, I hope I can guide them in a path of better education towards the trades and welding and being a welder in this trade. There's so many varieties of work that you can get into, and a lot of really good paying jobs out there. You can work in the space industry, you can work in construction industry, you can work in the automotive industry, you can work in the art. There's really just almost anything that you can think of that ties into. Everything's made out of metal, so. So there's always something you can do in the trade, and I hope to inspire a lot of young people, because I think it's really been lacking. When we grew up, everybody was like, go to college and be a lawyer, go to college and be a doctor, go to, and the trades were really kind of frowned upon. Nobody wanted to do the trades. And then what happened over that time is there was a huge shortage. So now we're dealing with a huge shortage in the trade industry, and the young kids. There's very few young kids that want to get into those type of jobs because they're hard work, and they're long hours, and they're dirty, so anyway, I hope I can inspire some people to see the good in it, and follow that path.
It's such a great purpose. And I totally agree. Like, by having someone showing a good example of what could be done with a trade like this, and what could be done in a huge way, is just the right thing to do, because there's probably a lot of welders who are maybe like fed up of what they're doing, and maybe they could just
Absolutely.
switch to something else that's more creative. So it's so interesting.
Well, and not only that, but you can also, you can also, do a business plan, and do self-employment as well, and find something that you like. If it's in welding and you're welding, and there's a certain specific thing that you like making or doing, and then maybe make a business plan, and start the steps to opening your own business, doing your own thing instead of, working for somebody and working for a paycheck all the time. If that's getting old, then maybe branch out and do your own thing. And there's always that possibility too. And I think there's plenty of work for everybody that is willing to put their effort and time, and the hours it takes to make
Yeah.
a business successful. And believe me, it's not easy to make your own business successful. So
No, that I know. And so in that matter, like, tell me how you, like, you explained a little bit how you got some clients, like people, they actually see your creation, they're like, what is this? I want this. And it's people with money, of course, but how do you actually prospect these kind of clients? Do you have like a way of doing this, or?
honestly, I've been fortunate that I had a skill level that kind of um, in most back in the day, we used to call it shock and awe. So you build these giant sculptures that nobody's seen before, and that was kind of part of the business plan. So the part of the business plan, and I say this to anybody that wants to be an artist, is don't follow what you like from somebody else, and don't copy what you like from somebody else. Be your own self, do your own thing, and that's what separates you, and that's what will draw attention to you to be a successful artist. So, for me, for example, if I was a cartooner, or, doing cartooning and stuff, great. But does anybody remember me for doing cartooning? Does anybody remember me for, drawing Donald Duck a million times, or, you know what I mean? So that's been done. Somebody created it, and they did an amazing job of it, and they're famous for it. And don't follow in that suit. Do something, try to think outside the box, try to do something that's unique and different. And then if you do that, and you do just put 100% into it, everything. If you're working full time and hoping to get out of the work and do your art, then do it full time on every inch of time that you have. Like, do it in the evenings, do it on the weekends, promote yourself. Practice. If you want to be an artist, practice drawing. If you want to be a metal artist, the best thing you can do is be a good drawer, because learning how to draw lets you visualize what you're creating. It lets you see three-dimensional. It helps your eyes develop building proportions. So, that's really important. If your drawings look good, and you can get drawings looking good, chances are you're going to get your metal looking good, because you can visualize it. And then there's nobody out there teaching art in metalwork. So one of the things that I also promote hugely is, also because I'm a car builder, is get into car building courses. People that teach metal shaping or coach building for car building, they teach you how to stretch and shrink metal. They teach you how to weld and hammer and plenish and polish and grind. And they teach you how to make a fender from nothing. They teach you, if you learn those techniques of how to build a car from nothing, you're going to be able to build metalwork and artwork from nothing. And it's highly a skilled trade. And it's also a trade that isn't being done anymore. In the auto body industry, everything is replaceable, everything's plastic, everything's glue on. If you're doing metal work, things are changing. They're doing carbon fiber and aluminum. So those old metal shaping techniques are not around anymore. And that's what I hope to do when I open up a school in Las Vegas is to start bringing back some of those educational tips. And there's some amazing people, go on YouTube, check out YouTube. There's some amazing artisans that are metal shapers and fabricators that teach classes both on YouTube and personally. There's Lazzy and Ray Schilling and just so many guys out there that are starting YouTube channels and teaching people the basics. And it's free. You can just watch and learn and absorb their information. And they've been doing it like myself for 10, 20, 30, 40 years of experience, and they're going to teach you stuff that it's so much easier than learning the hard way and wrecking all that metal and redoing it. So
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love the fact that you want to bring back this kind of old methods that like kind of disappearing, because I believe in the things that are disappearing usually are good things, and we don't want them to
absolutely,
disappear. So it's a good thing that you want
absolutely,
to keep them alive.
yeah, yeah.
Always useful to keep these things, and with even with social media, one thing that is disappearing is real communications,
Absolutely. That's a huge problem. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's actually what I teach to my clients. I help artists to communicate for real.
Right.
So this is because not everyone has these kind of shock and awe strategies like you
Right.
have. So sometimes they have to prospect more. But I love to see someone like you, that what you create is such unique that you don't really have to prospect, that your creations
But
prospect.
the truth is it's my wife and I. It never ends. So we're self promoters. We have to self promote all day long, every day. So we're on social media. It started with Facebook, and then Facebook grew into Instagram, and eventually, we got on board with TikTok, and we've had some viral videos that have really helped grow our social media, and self promotion. Don't be afraid to self promote. Post pictures of what you're working on, post a little video of what you're working on. Doesn't matter if it's good or bad. People love to watch, people love to see what you're doing. If you're struggling, people will reach out and help you. So don't be afraid to post and share and self promote. We go home after a 10-hour day of working, and even on the weekend, we'll sit on the couch for hours sharing pictures and sharing things that we're doing or what we're hoping to do, and all of that spreads the word and helps people get to know who you are and what you're doing. And even for now, I mean, Michelle and I, we started a YouTube channel a couple of years ago that we never did, and we've had some help with it. And we're not getting a bunch of visibility. I think we've only got 2,000 or 3,000 followers, and it's not a huge thing yet. But as we get into Vegas, that's one of the target things that we really want to start doing, is spending more time in front of the camera, more time talking to people one-on-one in front of the camera, showing what we're doing. Good or bad, having good days, bad days. If I'm swearing in front of the camera, it is what it is. It's just one of those days, and that's life. You just gotta deal with each day that comes. But I hope that I'll be able to increase my following down there, and really what it takes. And I'm not the greatest in front of a camera, because it of course it takes away from your production and your focus a little bit. I tend to just kind of zero in onto a project that I'm working on, and I almost don't even want to be bothered. It's just work, 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 and I want to get it done. But I have to learn that I need to slow down and talk to the camera more, and be on the camera more. My biggest thing over the last couple of years is just showing everybody, showing my work, or walking through the shop and showing my tools or showing what I'm working on. But I'm not in front of the camera with people getting to know me and getting to love me or hate me. It's okay as long as I'm getting a follow. So
I
that's
love it.
okay. So you're always going to have critics. No matter what you do, there's always one way to do it one way and another way to do it another way. And for me, I don't think there's any wrong way, as long as you're getting it done and you're having fun doing what you're doing. That's the most important thing.
So right. I mean, Kevin, you're very articulate. I don't think you're lacking any in front of camera skills. And I think that people, I don't know if it's your first podcast interview, but with one-on-one interviews like this, or just you talking to the camera, I mean, I'm pretty sure that the people who are watching could just sit there and watch you talk for hours without leaving the computer
Oh, well,
screen.
I appreciate that.
I'm very like honest about this. So, um, Fred Steffens asked me to ask you about Elon Musk bust. What's that
Right.
story?
Well, that's a kind of a crazy story. So, how can I? Well, I'll start by I was contacted by Danny Wang. Danny Wang is a amazing designer from California. He designs backyards, swimming pool, oasis, redesigns big amazing homes, really high end stuff that he designs. And he was contacted by a client to reach out to me because the client wanted me to do the project. And they had the idea that they wanted to do a giant Elon Musk bust. And when he first contacted me, he didn't tell me who the client was. And then he explained this project to me, which was a giant Elon head riding attached to a goat body, riding a rocket on the back of a Tesla semi-trailer on the way to Mars. And I was like, what? And they wanted a 50-foot goat with Elon's head on it, riding a 50 or 60-foot rocket on the back of a semi-trailer. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. and they said, can you put a quote together for me and send it? And I didn't know who the client was. So then me and Michelle were like, I wonder if that's Elon.
Yeah, right.
We were like, so what happened was in I believe it was 2018, Elon himself had my Chinese dragon that you just showed as his profile picture on Twitter for a while. And my daughter found it and she's like, oh my God, Elon has your dragon as his profile picture. And I'm like, are you serious? And she brought me her phone and showed me. And sure enough, my dragon was the profile picture on Elon's Twitter page. And at the time, he was promoting his SpaceX and his Dragon rocket. Well, his Dragon rocket and Dragon project was a stainless steel rocket. So I can only assume that he looked up stainless steel dragon or something, and my dragon came up and he used it. So I thought that was really cool. So having that in our history a little bit, and then this project coming up, I thought, geez, I wonder if he's who would want a giant Elon head on a goat riding a rocket? It doesn't even make sense to me. So what it ended up being is it was Elon Goat Token, which is a cryptocurrency company out of Phoenix, Arizona. And they had this amazing idea to build this contraption to drive around North America with this giant head of Elon on a goat riding a rocket with lightning and music and lighting and all this craziness. And the rocket actually tilts up off the deck of the truck and shoots flames and everything. It's just awesome. And so I agreed to the project and I gave them a quote, and they got back to me and they said, well, the quote is okay, but the problem is the time frame. They were crowdfunded, being a token, being a kind of like what do you call it, like a Bitcoin. It was a cryptocurrency, and it was crowdfunded, and it was important to get this promotion off really quick. And for me to do a project that big, I told them, I said, for me and my wife to build it, it's like 2 years to build something that big, you know, and they wanted it done in 4 or 5 or 6 months. So we agreed. They reached back to me and they said, well, we really want you. We think you're the only guy to build Elon. We want you to build Elon, and we will reach out to somebody else to build the rocket and the goat. And then when you're done, Elon, when you're done the head, ship it to us and we'll get it mounted and we'll kind of build everything all at once. And that way it's done faster. So that's what I agreed to, and that's what I did. So I built a big giant aluminum Elon head, and when we finished it, we shipped it down to Phoenix, Arizona, and they mounted it to the already finished goat and rocket body, and they did all the gas plumbing for the fire and everything, and mounted it to a trailer, and then they promoted it, drove it around with the intention of actually taking it to the Tesla Gigafactory in Texas and giving it to Elon, because they felt, I think, if they did their promoting and then they actually took it to Elon and gave it to him, that it would, kind of help spike their crypto and really put them in the news and stuff. And you know what? It was a fantastic marketing plan. The whole project made world news. So if you Google Elon Goat Rocket, and you'll see it was on CNN. It was in the Wall Street Journal. It made worldwide news. It was in Israel, Turkey, California, Florida, Arizona. It was in all the local papers and news media. And Michelle and I actually ended up being the most published artists of 2021. Was it 2022? 2022, we were the most published artists in the world because of that project. So it was a super fun project to do, and of course, unfortunately, Elon didn't come out and claim his prize, and they still have the rocket down in Arizona. So we're hoping that, yeah, what a crazy project. So we're hoping that they keep promoting with it, and they've got some big plans for it coming up, I'm sure. And crypto's taken a big dump, and hopefully crypto will come back and bounce back, and they'll do well. But it was a fun project, and I was really happy to be a part of it. And it was a great learning experience, because I'll tell you, I've never done a bust or a portrait of somebody in metal before, and I was pretty darn worried that I bit off more than I can chew, and I agreed to that, especially to one of the most famous people in the world. So I've lost your sound.
Yeah,
So
I'm back. I cut
oh,
my
there
son.
you go.
Sometimes my little girl is crying, so I try to cut it when she's
Oh,
crying.
sure.
Yeah. So, man, these are amazing stories. Like, I have questions, but I don't want to ask them because they're boring questions. But your stories are amazing. And like, what would you recommend to any artist that's kind of, let's say they have the talent necessary, but they're just not able to market themselves or to speak with people? What would you recommend them, like, to them as some of the first steps to take?
Well, number one, I've always said that I could lose everything I own tomorrow and start with a welder and grinder and start all over again. So if you want to be a metal artist, if you're focused on being a metal artist, start with the simple. So just get a basic, even if it's a Harbor Freight cheap little welder and a grinder, and practice, practice, practice. It's just like drawing. Don't be afraid to throw a bunch of metal out that looks like scrap. You only get better with practice, and it takes an awful lot of practice to get good. And it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether it's art or even as a skilled tradesman. The more you practice, the better you're going to get. So don't get frustrated, don't give up, and don't let people tell you you can't do it, because you can do anything that you put your mind to, and stay focused and just work hard. It takes a lot of hard work and perseverance to do it. And even if even if you're starting in your garage or wherever, just practice and practice and practice, and educate yourself as much as you can. What are other people doing? Learn tricks and tips. Get as much information as you can. Like I said, off of YouTube, wherever it takes. And they're great sources for helping you take a beginning. But I think I think the most important thing is don't get discouraged. You know, there's always people that'll criticize you, or no matter what you're doing, there's always critiques. And you know, you could be the best in the world at something, and somebody's still going to critique it. You know, and don't take that to heart, because you know maybe they're critiquing it because that's just what they do, and you know, and so so don't take it personal, and don't feel frustrated, and don't give up when you feel that's something that you want to do, you know. And that's the best advice I can give. And then as far as tackling it, you know, it can feel overwhelming. When you think of the big picture, you're thinking, oh god, I got to do this, and I need that, and I need all these tools, and I need a big shop, and and I don't want to lose my job, and you know, and all these, you know, things that can procrastinate you into not doing it. And what I tell everybody, and how I work, and how I achieve these monster jobs and big commissions that I do, is the first step of a ladder. You know, don't try to climb to the top of that ladder. Just try to get to that first step. And then when you've achieved that step, make the next step, and just work on that ladder one step at a time, one step at a time. And eventually you'll be at the top of the ladder, and you know, celebrating. So just hit one step at a time, and don't get frustrated, and don't give up.
I love it. Eat your elephant one slice at a time.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I love it. It's such a good like, and it's such a good advice, and it makes me realize that everything you do, maybe some of them you did like before, but most of your projects you never did before. So it make me thinks about, it's that this the self-confidence that you have, that you can commit totally to a project even if you never did it before, and figure it out.
That's the key to success. Never say no. Never doubt yourself. Always go for it, and figure it out as you go. If that's what it takes, just go for it. You know, don't say, oh god, I don't know if I could do that. Say, yeah, I can do that, and then figure it out. You
But
know.
this is
And
what I observed.
don't be afraid to lose, because you know, every entrepreneur that I've ever met, and every successful person that I've ever met, has failed multiple times. You might have lost businesses multiple times, but don't give up. Just keep doing it, and just keep plugging away, and eventually you'll find yourself doing what you love to do and being successful.
Wow, you have such good advice. I love the way you see things. This is why you're successful at what you're doing, for sure.
Oh, believe me, I've been knocked down multiple times. Just, you know, you just pick yourself up, dust yourself off, say I learned something. You know, don't take it to heart. Don't be
Yeah,
mad at the people that screwed you over. If anybody screwed you over, just think, hey, they taught me a lesson, and I won't do that again. And I'm going to move on, and do better things, and just kind of set your goal, and just keep going for your goal, and don't give up. You know, it's like riding a bike, and you fall down, you get back up, and you pedal some more, and eventually you're you know, not falling down anymore. So
I love it. Very, very true. And we have Fred Stephens once again, who says critiquing is jealousy. So people who are criticizing you are just jealous.
well, yeah, you know, there are some people that are jealous. There's some people that maybe you know, maybe they're a little bitter that they didn't follow their dreams and go after them, or didn't have the right motivation, or you know, for me, I think, you know, if I had the right people. I was on my own very early. You know, I didn't get along with my dad, and I was out on my own like really early. Like I was 15 when I was living on my own, and I didn't have that mentorship and guidance, and many people don't. You know, many people struggle with you know, with life in general, and they've had a hard life, and they come from a tough background, and don't let that affect you. Don't be bitter because of what other people have done to you. I feel that you always can better yourself, improve yourself, and you know, makes me emotional talking about it, because I've learned a lot, you know.
Yeah. I mean, everything you did is made you who you are today, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
This is life, and the hardship is there in everybody's life. So we just have to get
Absolutely.
through it. So,
Yep.
but
Yep.
some people get through it maybe in a higher matter, and some go lower. So it
Right.
really depends
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
your,
It can harden and bitter people, and
yeah,
it's sad to say, but back to what you were talking about communication and people kind of withdrawing into technology and not being out there talking to people and stuff is making people I don't know if it's making people angrier or less able to communicate with people, and two people are so many people are just ready to just say nasty things to people without thinking about what that person might be going through. So
yeah, totally. Understanding others is a great ability to understand
yeah,
others. To be
yeah. And if you don't, in my opinion, if you don't have something nice to say, then just don't say it. Why why
totally,
why be out there hurting people and bringing people down? It just doesn't make sense to me.
exactly. We have to collaborate and help each other. That's
Yeah.
the right motto. So I mean, it was such a great interview, Kevin. I'm so glad. Like, to be honest, like everything you said, the golden nuggets, like the advice you gave is very good. The stories, the Elon Musk bus, what the hell? Like, this is crazy. So, where can people find you on social media and online?
Well, metal sculptor Kevin Stone is the easiest way to find me. You can Google me, and all my social media will come up. You can Google. For years and years, I've had magazines and websites and stories and papers, and they're all accessible on the internet if you Google me, and a lot of history. And of course, the best thing is for me moving forward is I hope to be on YouTube a lot more. So you can find me as metal sculptor Kevin Stone on YouTube, or Kevin Stone Metal Sculptor. You can find me on TikTok and Instagram, and Metal Sculptor Kevin Stone on Facebook, or hit me up and follow me as Kevin Stone on Facebook. I have a lot of followers since Facebook changed. I can actually have followers on my own personal page as well, which is really cool because I do tend to post a lot on there. And I just forget about, when you've got 3 or 4 platforms, it's hard to remember to share on everything. So we've been trying to do that more. My wife is fantastic for filming because I don't have time to do the filming as much, and she does most of the filming now, and tries to we've tried to experiment a little bit in teaching people about tools and how-to videos and stuff, and I need to work on that some more. So I'm going to try to really start as I build some projects. I have a really fun bear project coming up, and I'm going to be building some mama bears and cubs playing in a fountain and stuff like that. So when we get down to Vegas, I'm going to start promoting those bears and filming as I build them, and then hopefully we can get a following watching us do the bears. And I know Justin, who's been doing some video editing for me, is going to do our installation video on the T-Rex in Penticton, and that'll be coming out on YouTube, installing the T-Rex, which was a crazy video because the crane operator swung my T-Rex body, which is huge. I mean, it's like 17 or 18 feet tall and 12 feet wide, just his legs and hips. And it had to be close to 100 feet in the air on the crane being swung over trees and stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, it's going to get destroyed. It was pretty stressful. so, so that should make a fun video.
Wow, no, making these huge things will always make up for a good story. That's for sure.
Well,
Like
for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
traveling, installation, creating. So, I mean, thank you so much, Kevin, for your time. It was really, really nice to have you.
Well, thank you, Eli, for having me on the show. And I look forward to doing this again sometime.
Totally. We could speak again when you'll be installed and move to Vegas, and you
That would
could
be great.
show us your new place and your new shop and everything. It will be my pleasure for sure.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So stay in the virtual studio. I want to chat with you again for a bit. Okay.
Sure.
All
Yep.
right. So I'll remove you from the screen. I'll end the podcast. So thank you everyone for watching. It was amazing. What an amazing guest. I cannot thank him enough to share his story with us. So remember, If you did not see yet, my book explains all the tips you need to be able to make a living from your art. It's available on Amazon. It's called Living from Your Art. So if you did not get it yet, what are you waiting for? So thank you so much for watching. And until the next episode, have an amazing week. Bye-bye.